Hey guys, welcome back to the second part of my out-of-box review for the Master Grade Full Armor Gundam, Gundam Thunderbolt Ver.Ka. So if you missed part one, I went over the articulation, just some general thoughts about the kit and things like that. You can go back and check out that part. For this part, I'd want to put on all the extra armor and weapons and all of that, and then we'll talk about sort of the final form of the kit. So first thing, we need to put on all of this extra armor. Now most of the armor is just kind of like one extra piece that you just kind of snap onto there, just like an extra plate of plastic you're just kind of slap on. So not really all, a lot of this is not really all very complicated, but there's just some parts that you can just build all separately and then just put on, you know, all or none, whichever you want. So let's get to it. So while attaching all that armor was not necessarily hard, it's very hot in this room, so I was just pouring sweat whilst trying to do that. Anyway, so here it is with all the extra armor on. Of course, we're still missing the backpack and weapons, so this is just, I guess you could call it full armored now, but there is full weapons that we still need to attach to this, so we'll get to that here in just a moment. One thing that I do want to quickly point out is that I pointed this out in the unboxing video that I noticed on the box art, the chest vents were just like flat and didn't have this texture in there. We do have those parts. We have these little square little pieces that will fit inside there to cover out these chest vents, but they don't stay in there very well. They kind of fall out really quite easily, and this chest vent just like that is so much more interesting than just having just this flat piece inside there, so I'm just going to leave these out. But you do have those if you want. Yeah, for whatever reason you might want those. So here is the backpack for the Gundam. Really nice design here. Everything works really super well. You got the extra beam saber handles here on the side. This part kind of like folds out a little bit like that, and you can just pull the beam saber hilts out of there. And here on the top, these are going to move nicely out all the way to the side like that, or up, forward and back. They can rotate every which way like that. The missile pod, the doors of that open, left and right side doors of that open, so really nicely articulated for these. And then the same thing is for the cannon. You can put it off to the side, you can move this whole thing off to the side like that, up only to about like there, down to there, and then just rotate it like that. So really nice articulation there, really pretty basic in its design for the most part. The fuel tanks are also nicely articulated. They'll go out to about there, in obviously as well. You can just move them up and down a little bit. If I move this part here at the top, see you can sort of change the angle of them just a little bit, or they can go up like to that, you can see. So not really too much of a range of movement there, but it is something, I guess. And what I wanted to show you guys is how this attaches onto the back of the Gundam, because it's kind of cool. So let me put this here and hopefully you'll be able to see it well. So here in this part, you need to just pull this white part down, and then that's going to slide onto there, and then hopefully you'll be able to see that part well enough. Then when you put that on there and then pull it down, and then that part just kind of slides closed on there. I don't know, something really quite satisfying about the way that mechanism folds up on there. And as soon as I attach the backpack, the Gundam was like this, and as soon as I let go, you can see it's going to be falling back like that. So before, the way the base is holding that, the Gundam is kind of leaning forward a little bit because it's a lot of weight. The connection point is on the back of the Gundam, the back skirt, so the Gundam is going to be leaning forward a little bit. But then once we put the backpack on, it straightens it up, and I think that it holds it then at a very nice straight angle here. So here we can see with that extra backpack and the weapons now in hand, we've added a lot of mobility and firepower to our Gundam now. We do still have the 4 shields that we're also going to attach, and as you can see, they're going to be getting really heavy up on that action base now, and I even noticed it's kind of hard to keep the action base straight just because this new arm that we were using for the action base is 3 separate pieces instead of just the 1 piece as it normally is. I feel it is kind of has a little bit of a tendency to kind of lean to one side a little bit. So just kind of a little bit of a balancing act to keep this straight on here. Again, this kit is mostly going to be a brick, but as you can see there, you can do some little bit of posing with this. And you are probably going to also be worrying about the weight issues of the arms, if the arms are going to be able to hold up the weight of the weapons. I want to wait until we have the shields on there as well before I comment too much on that, because right now, just with the weapons, I think it probably wouldn't be too bad, but we do still have shields to add onto the arms as well, which are going to add a significant amount of weight on there. As you're noticing, sorry about the little bit of wiggle there, obviously with this thing going around and just being a lot of weight on there. I don't know, it just wiggles here on my base, so sorry that you guys are seeing that. But let's go ahead and put the shields on. Now, the interesting thing about the way the shields connect is, if you'll notice, here on the side of the weapons, we have this extra little bit here, which looks like a shield mount point, and this actually can slide back and forth, and it's the same thing on the other side as well, on this side here. Now here's our shield, and we have 4 of these. This part has a handle here, which can move, and this whole thing can move up and down. You can actually take this out and switch it around to the other side like this if you want, to have it like that. But we're just going to keep it as it's meant to be for the time being. Now see here on the inside of the shield, we have that peg hole where it's going to attach onto the peg, very easy. Then we also have this little claw here that's going to open. This is going to attach onto this little bar here. So these are going to secure on there quite nicely. You could kind of feed that through there and then attach this onto here, and that's stuck onto there. Now here you can see some of the leaning I was talking about. That's just on the action base and then leaning off to the side like that. So when I get the shield on the other side, it'll help even it out. But obviously you can see all this stuff here stacked up on the arm. It's going to be quite heavy. So let's test it to see if the arm is able to hold that up. Seems not too bad. Again, the whole thing is just kind of falling off to the side. But for all intents and purposes, it does seem to be able to hold that up, relatively well. I don't know how long it's going to be able to maintain that pose, but it does seem to be working. Here you can have a look at, there are a couple more foil stickers I can point out to you guys. Just green camera lenses here in this part, and then here on the top and bottom of the twin beam rifle. No, it just wouldn't be a Ver.Ka kit without a load of gimmicks built in, so there is of course a few more gimmicks we do need to talk about. The cockpit hatch does open a little bit differently now that we have the extra armor on there. This part is just going to fold out a little bit like that, gently. And then these parts here on the side are going to open up like that. And then the inner part, which we saw before in part 1, is going to open up inside of there. Yeah, kind of hard to do without this front part falling off, but let me just open that inside part, then reattach this outside part. And there is our very elaborate cockpit opening there. I'll just close that back up. There we go. Then on the front and back skirts, which again are exactly the same, we have these little doors that are going to open up to show some micro missiles inside there. Here in the knee as well, that's going to open up, and the whole thing just rocking a whole bunch on this front, on that base there. The tops of the chest, it's going to open up there. Even the side skirts will open up, and there's some micro missiles inside there. That door falls out very easily. Where else? I suppose that's it for that, but then of course up here on top we have the arms. That this whole section is going to come up like that. Then we have the extra arm that is going to come out. And that's really nicely articulated. I kind of wish that the HG had something more like that, maybe not quite as complicated as this design, of course, but that is going to be able to hold our shields very nicely. You can see that inside there is sort of like a alien mouth, a xenomorph mouth. There's like a kind of inner mouth inside of this clamp there. Has a small peg, and that's going to fit in. There's a small peg in the shield that that is going to fit into. So holding the shield should be nice and secure here. So with all the articulation built into that arm, you can see we're going to have no problem getting the shields into pretty much any direction that you want them in. And I really like how that whole mechanism just folds down there into the backpack. As you saw, you just pull that out, just slides up like that, and you've got your arm there, and then when not in use, you just pop it back down there into the backpack. So it actually works really super well. And just for a quick comparison here with the HG kit, obviously the big difference is going to be the size. Obviously the overall aesthetic is going to be pretty much the same. Other differences that you may want to consider if you're kind of on the fence between the two, there are a lot of details of the kits that are slightly changed. So I mean, you may just want to look at that kind of aesthetically if there's some particular details that you really like in one version over the other or something like that. But obviously big differences are going to be the price, and all the details and gimmicks. The 1/100 scale, the master grade here obviously has a lot more gimmicks built in. It's obviously going to be much larger, so it's going to be taking up more space. I mean, if you don't have a lot of space, then maybe the HG is going to be better for you. The HG is going to be more work. If you're going to be painting it, there's going to be a lot more masking and a lot more seam line removal involved with that, where the master grade, you aren't going to have that extra work. But again, you are going to have just a lot more pieces and stuff to work with, a lot more pieces to paint and all of that. So it's just kind of a trade-off as to which one you might want to get. I couldn't really recommend any one particular over the other to you guys. It would have to be totally up to you which one you go with. I think both of them are fantastic kits though, so I think either way you can't really go wrong. If it was up to me, if I had to get one though, I'd probably go for the master grade though, just because I like the fact that it does have all the extra details and gimmicks and things like that. For painting it is going to be a lot easier. I really hate masking, and seam line removal is really annoying. So I just would find the master grade a little bit more appealing. But there are certain details, certain aspects of the high grade's design that I do kind of like better. I like the shape of the shoulder cannon. It's slightly different. I like that design a little bit more than the master grade's design. And just overall, I don't know, the handle part of the beam, of the double beam rifle, the part that's actually held in the hand, I like it better, the design better on the high grade as well. So I don't know, there's a few things. Anyway, let's move on here and wrap up this review. So here we finally have the full form version of our full armor Gundam Thunderbolt version. And again, sorry for the kind of shakiness you're going to be seeing here, just very heavy kit with all that stuff and all like out in every direction up on that base, where again the arm I think of that base is just not quite as strong as it really should be, and I'm really just kind of wondering why they even made the arm of the base segmented like that. So not really the best decision I think on Bandai's part. I don't really know why they did that, but this is going to be an impressive kit nonetheless. It's going to be obviously a very big attention grabber up on your shelf, especially once you get all the water slides attached onto it as well, because that's just going to add so much more detail to it than it already has, just with all these little bits of color app, little maroon and orange bits poking out everywhere, and then once you get it panel lined up and all of that. I did also forget to mention the claws up under the feet as well. You have like little maroon bits underneath the feet that has those claws there. So just loads of gimmicks built into this kit. Again, that's a Ver.Ka kit, and Ver.Ka kits often just are like gimmicks to the max. And yeah, the same thing holds true with this. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do with this. It's essentially going to be pretty much a brick kit if you want to go for like the full form like this, but there is definitely a lot of options for different cool things that you can do with it. I anticipate we're going to be seeing some really awesome dioramas made out of this kit. So with that, I can pretty much wrap up this two-part review. Thank you guys for sticking around through the long, lengthy review process for this kit, but obviously there was a lot to talk about. Overall, it's a hefty kit with a hefty price tag, but I think if you know what you're going to be getting, what you're going to be getting is a big thing to put on your shelf. So I think it's worth the price there, probably. But maybe not. Again, as I said with the previous review, this kit is not going to be for everyone. It's not like your typical master grade where you have a really cool, complicated inner frame. This inner frame is really super simple. That use of a cloth over the joints is optional, but if you want to use that, it can be a little bit tricky to work with. And just overall, the design, I thought the kit was overall, some parts of it were fun, and then some parts of the build were a little bit boring, to be honest. But yeah, again, if you're a fan of the Full Armor Gundam, if you're a fan of like Full Armor Gundams in general, just with like loads of guns and all kinds of stuff on it everywhere, then you'll like this kit. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you do have any other questions or comments, leave those down below. And with that, I think we can wrap this up. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.